Hi, my name is Basola Jackson. I'm a nurse practitioner student with FAMU. Today I'll be doing my head and neck coupled with the cardiac and lung exam. I have here my brother who is going to be assisting me with this examination. We were doing a wet lung workup. He's coming in complaining of a cough that lasted 5 days, so we're just going to do that episodic examination. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assess his head and face. I'm looking for facial symmetry, so I'm going to start with that. Looking at his head, I'm looking at the views of his hair. Hair is evenly distributed. He also has a full beard as well. It's evenly distributed. Noted some gray areas under the submental. Next, I'm going to look at the back of his head, looking for any deformities, and I'm going to inspect inside of his scalp area just to check for any lesions, any infestations such as lights or anything like that. I'm going to now palpate for tenderness. Does this feel tender as I'm touching you?
No.
Okay. And also just checking for any baldness areas, and I don't see any. His hair is within limits for his ethnicity. It's very soft in touch. Next, I'm just going to check and touch his beard as well, do an inspection, looking the same aspects for any lesions, any lacerations, any lumps or bumps or nodules that I can feel under that, and I don't. Same thing for his beard. It's very full. It's evenly distributed throughout his face. I'm not noting any baldness or any infestations around his beard area. Now I'm going to be checking his temporal pulses. So I'm going to place my hands right here on his temporal just to feel. And I do feel a force of 2 plus 2 and regular rate. I'm going to work my way down to assess the masseter muscle. Can you bite down? And now I do feel like a ball of muscles down in that area. And can you open and close your mouth? I'm going to assess his TMJ. He did complain, sorry, you see it's a positive touch feel with tenderness to his left side. He did note that he has been going to holistic doctors and chiropractic to figure out the issues of that. So we do have noted that there's tenderness within palpation to the left side of the temporal mandibular joint space. Next now I'm going to test for facial sensation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I'm going to use soft and pointy fields. What I'm going to do is I'm going to touch an area of your face. You let me know if you can feel it and what is the sensation you feel, okay? So can you close your eyes?
Sharp.
And where do you feel that?
Top left. Soft right. Soft left. Sharp right.
Okay.
Top right.
Top right. Okay, and then for that, noted that there's no, you can open your eyes now. Noted that there's no any nerve damages that he can feel with his eyes closed. Now doing a visual inspection of his face. I'm looking for any for symmetry, noting that there's no drooping within the left and the right side. If there was drooping, we'll be worried about Bell's palsy or stroke-like symptoms that might happen. Everything is in the midline. The next thing I will be inspecting now is his ears. I'm going to be looking at the outer aspects of it. Just looking bilaterally just to make sure that they are sitting within limits of his head. Also noting that his head is within an appropriate size to his body, so it's normocephalic. I'm going to touch your ears now. Feeling the pinna and the auricular part of the auricular parts of the ears. Do you feel any tenderness?
No.
Okay. There's no deformities, there's no lesions, no malformations, no deposits that I noticed upon inspection of the ears. He said it's not tender to touch. I'm gonna also touch and palpate the tragus. Do you feel any tenderness when I touch here?
No.
Okay. Next, I'll be assessing the mastoid, which is the bony prominence that sits in the back of the ear, and I'm gonna touch that. Palpate that. Do you feel any tenderness there?
No.
Don't feel any like softness or any type of malformations or any deformities there. I'm also going to visualize it as well. I'm not seeing anything that's abnormal in that space. Now I'm going to do an inner inspection of his ear canal. I'm going to be using an otoscope. So just looking right now at the right side of his ear, there's no drainage noted. I don't see any outpouching or bulging that's there. So I'm going to take the pinna of the ear, pull it up and back so I can see the ear canal and visualize the tympanic membrane. And I do. The ear canal is pink. Noted a little bit of cerumen, but not a lot. I do visualize the tympanic membrane. It is pearly gray, translucent, and the cone of light on the right side is at 5. And I'm going to do the same thing on the left side, switching off there. Taking the pin or the auricle of the ear, pulling it up and back, visualizing the ear canal, and going inside the ear. Note here as well that the ear canal is pink. There's no foreign body. There's a little bit of cerumen, but I'm able to visualize the tympanic membrane. It's pearly gray on this side, translucent. The cone of light is at 7 as well. Next, I'm going to be checking for hearing. So I'm going to start off with the watch and whisper. I'm going to occlude one side of his ear, and I'm going to say a word for him to repeat back to me. And then going to the next side to assess for symmetry and bilateral hearing.
Boat.
Yes. Okay, so next, if there was any deviations that we will continue, but with this assessment, we're going to also do the Weber and Rhine test. The Weber the Weber and Rhine test for conductivity of air. So I'm going to do the Weber test, which I'm going to strike the tuning fork and place it on top of his head. And he should be able to feel the vibrations in both ears. Do you? Do you feel the vibration in both ears?
No.
Okay, maybe I didn't do it right. Hold on.
Yep.
Okay. So that was positive. That was a positive testing for both of his ears. Now we're going to do the Rhine test, which I'm going to strike it again. I'm going to place this in the back of his ear on the mastoid bone. Let me know when you don't feel the vibration.
No.
Do you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Do it on the other side again to assess for symmetry. Let me know when you don't feel it.
No.
Do you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so that tells us that air conductivity is greater than bone conductivity, that he should be able to hear sound greater than he should be able to feel it in the back of his ears. Okay, so next we're going to now do the inspection of the eyes. So I'm going to look straight at him. You can look at me. I'm looking at the brows and the eyelashes. The hairs are evenly distributed. The eyelashes are turned upright. I don't see any crustation. The eyelids are not swollen. There's no edema. The sclera is white. I do note some discoloration, but this has been since childhood, so it's normal for him. Next, I'm going to be now inspecting the conjunctiva, which I'm going to now take my hands and pull down your lower eyelids, and I need you to look up. Okay. Okay. The conjunctiva is pink and moist. I don't see any discharge from the lacrimal glands and ducts, so that is patent as well. I'm going to now do the inspections of the eyes with the otoscope as well, or excuse me, my pen light, excuse me, otoscope. So I'm gonna look at his pupils. So just look at me. So I'm just gonna look at your pupils. Just noting. Okay. Don't see any foreign bodies. The sclera is white. Pupil size is between, that's a 2 millimeter mark. Now I'm going to, look at the iris color. It is brown on both sides. There's no changes in the color. They're both bilaterally equal. Gonna now test for reflex in both his pupils, papillary response. So I did that with direct and consensual. When I move the light, look at me, into his left eye, it constricted, and the right eye constricted as well. Same thing with the light, it constricted, and the left eye constricted as well. So that tells me that the pupils are equal and reacted to light. Now we're gonna test for visual fields. So what I'm gonna do is look straight at me, at my nose. Let's see if I can field. I'm gonna look at the pen, and I'm gonna just have you check for convergence. So just look at the pen light, and I'm gonna draw this straight down to your nose. And what I'm looking at is for his eyes to look at the pen light and follow the pen light inwards. For his eyes to come together and the pupils to constrict, in which it did. And then I want you to look straight out. And when he's pointing out, the pupils do dilate. So he does have the accommodations with that. Now next we're going to be testing for the visual fields. So I'm going to let you look at me directly in my nose. Okay? So when you see my fingers, let me know.
See him. See him. See him.
Okay. Your visual fields, which is we're testing for peripheral peripheries, are intact. He's able to see that. The next test that we're going to do is the 6 cardinal fields of gaze, which test for cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6 for extraocular movements. So I'm going to take my finger, you look at the knee, and just follow my finger with just your eyes, okay? Go down, side, side, up, middle, down, middle, up, and side to side. And those cranial nerves are intact. We do check for nystagmus or strabismus, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, in the eyes to see if there's any extra movements or weakness in those ocular muscles. Next, I'm going to do the fundoscopic examination with my ophthalmoscope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be at a 15-degree angle. I'm going to have him look directly out, and I'm going to place with the same eye that I am envisioning with that eye. I don't want to do it on the matching eye just for safety issues. I'm going to place my hands on his shoulder to view. So the first thing that I want to look for is the red light reflex, and once I find that, I'm going to follow that down, okay? All right, and I got it. So now I'm going to place my hand here and look into the eye. Okay, I do know that I now see the blood vessels, and I'm following it down to the optic nerve, the optic disc, and it does look sharp. There's no EV nicking noted. Don't see any macular degeneration on this side. And I'm going to do the same thing on his left side. Same thing. I'm going to visualize it with my left eye. Place my hand here for safety. I'm going to have him look straight out. Find that red light. And once I find it, I'm going to follow it to the optic disc. Okay. You open eyes a little bit wide. Sorry. There you go. All right. Seeing the blood vessels there. All right, and the Optus is it's a creamy color. Don't see any AV nicking, no macular degeneration noted. Blood vessels are intact. Turn that off. And the test for the corneal reflex, we're going to defer that one for patient's choice, but typically we'll just take a cotton ball and test it, the outer aspects of the sclera to check for reflex for the corneal reflex of the eye. Next, now we're going to do the inspection of the nose. I'll be inspecting visually first, notating that the nose is midline. I'm going to touch the nose as well, just to touch if there's any tenderness there. Noted, I don't see any lesions. There's no open wounds. There's no drainage noted on the outer aspects of the nose. Now doing the inner inspection, I'm going to have you tilt your head upwards. And I'm just going to look inside of your nose. And I'm just going to push your nose up a little bit so I can visualize your septums. There's no deviation noted. Turbinates are pink and moist. No inflammation, no polyps noted there. Okay. Now we're going to check for airway patency. Can you occlude one side of your nose and breathe outward? And the same thing with the other one. Okay. Patency is intact. Now we're going to check for the cranial nerve, one which is your olfactory bulb, and we're going to check for smell. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wave this under your nose. You just know what it is. So just to tell me what it is. This is what you smell.
Lemon.
Lemon. And it is lemon. So that cranial nerve is intact as well. I am going to also now here palpate the sinuses. We're going to do the frontal lobe here. See the frontal sinus. Do you feel any pressure when I press on?
No.
And then the maxillary sinus. Any pressure when I press on there?
No.
Okay. So those are intact. There's no inflammation noted with that. The next assessment that we're going to do is going to be his neck. So I'm going to do the inspection. Because of his beard, I'm going to have to look up a little bit, seeing that the trachea is midline. We're going to do a little bit of range of motion here. Can you turn your neck side to side? Up and down. And then I'm going to have to see some resistance with my hand. Shrug your shoulders up and against my arm. All right. Do you feel any pains, any discomfort through the exam? Okay, so he has good range of motion within his neck. Next, I'm going to look at the trachea and then aspects of the neck and just palpate it side to side, displacing it for just to see. And it's supple and it's midline to the notch of his neck. Now I'm going to palpate for lymph nodes, which I'm going to start. You can probably turn this way so they can see. So we're going to do it, but I'm doing everything bilaterally. So with this assessment, I'm palpating for lymph nodes. I'm going to check the preauricular, the postauricular, occipital, tonsillar, submandibular, submental, the superficial cervical, the posterior cervical, then turn the neck to the side. Then we can feel on the sternocleidomastoid muscle the deep cervical chain, and we'll do it on each side. And then the supraclavicular, which is on the top aspect of the clavicle bone. And noted, some of the lymph nodes up here are palpable. Okay, so you turn back. Thank you. Next, now I'm going to be checking for his thyroid. And the interior aspect, because you can't see it, I'm going to show where the anatomy of where the thyroid isthmus would sit. So the hyaloid bone would be on top, next to thyroid cartilage, then the cricoid cartilage, then the thyroid isthmus sits at this border, and then the trachea is palpated and we can feel it down here, right? So now I can palpate in the front, the thyroid between my fingers from side to side. Noted that I don't feel anything. If we did feel the thyroid in our hands, then we'll do further testing to test, if there's any dysfunction that's going on with the thyroid. So now noted, I'm going to palpate in the back posteriorly, and I want you to slightly extend your neck up, and I'm going to feel for the thyroid between my fingers, moving it side to side. And can you swallow for me? And then you feel the thyroid cartilage, but you also feel the thyroid isthmus move between the fingers as he swallows. Okay, and also again the trachea being midline that I can feel in the back sits right at the top notch. So now next I'm going to be doing the chest examination, well, chest and lungs, but we're going to do the lungs first. I'm going to be looking at the inspection, noting the rate and rhythm. He has normal rate and rhythm. There's no note of any distress. The chest rise and fall evenly. No heaves that are noted. No retraction. No use of accessory muscles as he is breathing. It's not any deep or shallow. It's even on both sides. Next, I will now be checking for tactile fermentus. This checks for vibration through touch. So we're going to be checking the posterior lung. So you turn this way. I'm going to move the camera a little bit so you can see. Okay. So you say 99?
99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99.
Okay, and then vibration is felt. If there was no vibration there, would be concerns of consolidation, possibly in his lung fields, and more lung assessment would have to be done. Next, I'm going to, turn the other way. It's better lighting that way. Please, that way. Next, I'm going to do percussion. Just check for resonance of his lungs. So using my fingers, I'm going to use the third digit and using the pads of my third digit in my other hand to lightly tap to hear for resonance, which is air, not over the bone. And this good resonance posteriorly in his lung fields. Next, I'm going to check for diaphragmatic excursion. So I'm going to have him take a deep breath and hold it and percuss downwards. And I'm going to percuss until dullness meets resonance. Right? And right here, okay, take a breath. No, release the breath. Okay, take a deep breath and exhale out and hold your exhale. Okay, now I'm going to percuss upwards where resonance meets dullness on this side. And it's right here. And you can breathe. So if I was measuring, I would have two markings down here to show that there is possibly in a healthy person that is active, that there will be a 3 to 5 centimeter deviation, which is appropriate, and it will be for each side. Next, I'm gonna check for bronchophony, and I'm gonna have him say, which is like any vascular or bronchial sounds. So I'm gonna have, excuse me, that'll be on the front, but I'm gonna have him test the bronchophony on the back. So saying the words 99.
99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99.
Okay, and that's positive. You should be able to hear it muffling, which is normal. If the E's were like A's, then we will worry about consolidation and more in-depth lung assessment would have to be done. Okay, so now I'm gonna have you turn forward and lay down. Okay, now we're doing the cardiac assessment. Again, we're gonna do inspection first. I'm going to look and feel for any crepitus. Looking at the chest, I'm sorry, so I'm just gonna lift a little bit. Just looking at the chest, making sure that we're not seeing any pulsations, any noted thrills, looking at the chest rise and fall, any pulsations that are happening, and everything looks equal in nature. I don't see any scarring, any visible noting. I don't see any turbulence or burriness like where the aortic stump is. Next, I'm going to be palpating down his chest. Again, feeling for any thrills, any pulsations, and none is noted. Okay. Now I'm going to check for, excuse me, I'm going to now auscultate, excuse me, the valves in his heart. So we're going to be checking for the aortic, pulmonic, which is in the second intercostal borders. The third intercostal border down would be the Erb's point. The fourth intercostal border would be the tricuspid. And then the fifth intercostal, which is midclavicular, is the mitral. And we're going to be doing a couple of assessments there. I'm checking for maximal point of impulse, which is the apical pulse as well. So I'm going to auscultate and listen. So at the second border, I'm listening for the S1 and S2, and at the aortic, S2 is greater than S1. At the pulmonic, S2 is greater than S1. At the Erb's point, which is at the third intercostal margin, S1 and S2 are equal. At the tricuspid, S1 is greater than S2. And at the mitral, S1 is greater than S2. And here I am going to feel for the maximal point of impulse, which again is down, feeling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then midclavicular down at the apical pulse. And I should feel a thud, in which I do. If I couldn't feel that thud, which I'll have you turn over to your left side to isolate it and to feel. And at this point, I can listen to the rates. Okay, and then here, it's a good rate. Now I'm gonna have you, I'm gonna listen to, with the bells part, listen for any murmurs Murmurs are little swishing noises that you can hear, or slight turbulence. So I'm going to go back to those borders in the cardiac assessment of the heart to see if I hear any of the murmurs. Okay, none noted. A set up, please. And I'm going to check more so for the soft aortic insufficiencies and also any mitral murmurs while he's sitting up. So I'm going to listen again with the bells part. Okay, can you lean a little forward just to isolate, just to hear any mitral defects? And none were noted. No extra heart sounds noted, no S3s or S4s or any gallops or any other adventitious noises for the heart. Next, I will be now assessing for the peripheral vascular system. First, I'm going to look at his skin. Looking for, let me lift up your looking at his arms and legs bilaterally, seeing that the skin color is appropriate for his ethnicity. Also looking at throughout that there's no lesions, no cyanosis, no visible edema. The hair is evenly distributed. He has very fine hair, so it's not visible, but possibly to touch when I do the palpation. I'm going to now assess for cap refills on both hands. Taking my finger and depressing into the nail bed, seeing that the cap refill within less than 30 seconds. Same thing, taking my fingernail and depressing inside of the nail bed. And again, cap refills within 3 seconds. So we're not worried about any cyanosis, any oxygenation problem. Next, I'm going to assess for skin turgor. So I'm going to look at his skin, just pick it up on the side, and when it quickly retracts back. And I'm not worried or seeing any issues with hydration. I'm going to do that with his legs as well. It retracts back. Also now I'm going to assess for peripheral edema. It's not visible, we just want to make sure that we can assess for any pitting edema in the arms, both in the legs, and you can lay back down. I can assess your feet. Oh, sorry. It's not way back. Sorry. Okay, and also the feet as well. And no edema is noted. I'm going to also check the temperature of his skin using the back of my hands. So notating the skin is warm and it's even bilaterally throughout the extremities of his body, both arm and legs. So next I'm going to now assess and palpate the carotid arteries, palpate his pulses. So I'm going to start with the carotid arteries. We have to assess it one at a time. So lifting your head up a little bit and just turn to the side. And then go where that notch is to feel for one side. And the force of that is +2 and the rate is regular. Same on the other side. +2 and regular. To do radial pulses, I'm going to assess it bilaterally. Bilateral +2 and regular rate. Next, I'm going to assess the femoral. Just for this intended purposes, if this was a Braille patient, we'll have exposure, having him pull down his pants to expose where the femoral artery is, which is in the groin, but I can locate it here and palpate one side, which is a +2 and regular. On the other side is +2 and regular. Next, we're going to do the popliteal pulses. And this is kind of tricky if you're not used to it or haven't assessed this. Sometimes they're not able to be filled, or it's very light and thready. But you will do is you will go in the posterior aspect of the knee, bring your fingers together and slightly out and depress into the back of the knees. And I do feel his pulse at a +2 and regular. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, checking for symmetry, checking for claudation, checking to make sure that there is pulses bilaterally on each side. And again, +2 regular rate. Next, we're going to be assessing the posterior tibialis, and that is the pulse that sits behind the medial malleolus bone in the by the ankle. So you find that little groove, and I do feel the pulse +2 regular, and on the other side as well, +2 and regular. And the last pulse that we're going to do is the dorsalis pedis, which you can go between the first and second digit and draw a line down to the top notch of that bony prominence, and that's where the pulse sensation should be. And I do feel it. It's +2 and regular. And on the other side, +2 and regular. And lastly, we're going to assess the aortic, renal, and carotid for bruits. So I'm going to get my stethoscope using the diaphragm portion of my stethoscope to check for bruits. And bruits, again, is just turbulence flow, and that's something that we do not want to hear. So you turn your neck to the side. Okay, turn your neck again. Okay, no bruits are noted. Now I'm going to assess the aortic stem and just check for bruits there. I'm going to start above the umbilicus and work my way down the trunk where the bifurcation is, and where that branches out to the renal and iliac. And no bruits are noted. All right, you can set up. And I do want to thank my brother for helping me with my assessment. He's been wonderful. And this concludes my assessment for the head and neck, cardiac, and lungs. Thank you.